Good evening, YouTube. Good evening. This is your guy J Crew to you coming at you again with another video here on this lovely day on October 16th, 2021. Coming at you today with another film review. I've done one for the Mortal Kombat film that was released early this year. Coming back to you with another one for the my latest viewing as I'm going back to theaters regularly now, which is going to be, as you can probably tell by the image in front of you, it's going to be Halloween Kills. Halloween Kills is the sequel to the 2018 reboot of the Halloween film franchise. If you guys are aware, 3 years ago, they basically redid or rebooted the Halloween series with the fresh film. With that version, they basically kind of took the best qualities maybe of the first two or three films and they put them all together and sort of just changed certain plot points around. I really enjoyed that film from 3 years ago. And I thought what particularly made that film strong was the fact that they gave you some more, number one, of Jamie Lee Curtis as the lead character of Laurie Strode. But they gave her to you from the perspective of somebody who was old, who had been severely scarred by what had happened between her and what she had to survive, way back in the 70s with Michael Myers. And she basically was dealing with post traumatic stress syndrome. And so, with her dealing with PTSD, it brought like a new edge to the film because she was presented as this woman who was scarred by what had happened to her, but somebody who was also willing to fight back. Somebody who wasn't going to sit there and just wait to be just murdered off. And I liked that because it was something different. It was something that you didn't expect from an older female character. And basically, going off of what happened in that film, I want to sort of go into the film I just literally got back from viewing, Halloween Kills. It's basically the continuation of that first film. Because if you saw the first film, you should know by now how it ended. So this is not a spoiler in my mind. At the end of the first film, um, Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, and the lady that plays her daughter, and also her granddaughter, basically just kind of finally confront Michael, and they sort of beat him up, and they trap him in the basement, and set the house on fire, and they're thinking that Michael Myers is dead. They're like, okay, how can he survive all that crap? He's been stabbed, shot once or twice, and then he's supposedly been burned. At the beginning of this film, they actually start off with some flashbacks. They kind of rehash some stuff that happened back in the 70s in Haddonfield. It's basically a backstory for some new characters that maybe we may have remembered from the previous film, and some that we may have forgotten about from the 70s film. And it's like the first 10 minutes kind of is occupied with that, sort of rehashing some things that happened like in the 70s. One of the main things that happened is in this flashback, and I should just go ahead and say, yeah, for this one, for this review, there are going to be spoilers. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, just go ahead and cut it off right now. Come back to it maybe in a week or two. There's a cop. There's a young cop that accidentally kills his partner, who was commandeered by Michael Myers. Michael Myers basically is kind of grabs his partner and is using his partner as a shield between him and this young cop. And the young cop accidentally he's just so nervous, he just so racked with fear, he shoots and kills his partner by accident. And Michael Myers uh, leaves the room after this cop shoots his partner by accident and kills him, goes outside and is confronted by a mob of cops, and basically just gets beaten down. And we learned actually that they could have killed him right there in the course, because I just said he was confronted by a group of cops, but they didn't kill him. And so all these years later, as we come to see in this film, this cop uh, is racked with guilt. And actually, this cop is one of the characters from the first reboot 3 years ago. He's the cop that got ran over by Michael Myers. And you're thinking he's dead too. Like, how in the world he survived getting ran over by Michael Myers? He does. And they actually take him to the hospital, and he actually is placed in the same hospital room as Laurie Strode. And going back to Laurie Strode, the film picks up with her daughter and her granddaughter going to the hospital, and they're all thinking he's dead, that Michael Myers is dead. So when they get there, they have like a sense of relief. But what happens as we come to see is that, of course, with Laurie Strode and their house being on fire, the fire department arrives, and one of the scenes that you see in the trailer starts to take shape where Michael Myers, is you think is being rescued by some of these firefighters, but he starts killing them as soon as they start coming in the house and trying to rescue him. Because of course they didn't know he was there to begin with. He kind of comes out of this little back door or something in the basement. He kills some of the firefighters that comes in. Then he goes outside and just kind of picks apart the rest of them. And it kind of sets the tone, for the film. And they get into this iteration of Halloween. Let me go ahead and say it before I continue. I'm gonna go into some of the disappointments that I had with this film, because I definitely think this film was a step back. It just wasn't as good as the previous film. We're introduced to another character in the film that we remember from the 70s, Tommy Doyle. Tommy Doyle being one of the kids that Laurie Strode was babysitting when she was a teenager when the original killings took place with Michael Myers. Tommy Doyle kind of pops up at this little bar or something that's in Haddonfield, and he introduces himself to the crowd, and he basically tells them that that they need to stick together and they don't need to let Michael Myers basically frighten them like that. And then if he ever comes back, they're going to be ready for him. And so this is before, from what I recall, that they knew that Michael Myers was even, had even gone through, this survival spell with Laurie Strode. So I don't think they knew anything about what was going on. All of a sudden, when they're in this bar and this bar or whatever, a lot of people start to get text messages, and also there's like this news story that runs, and in the news story, they show two pictures of psychiatric prisoners that have escaped, from that mental institution. One of them is this prisoner we don't know, which we never seen, and then the other one is a picture of Michael Myers, but you don't really see a clear picture of him. But given if you seen the reboot of 2018, it's Michael Myers. What I thought was stupid was that they didn't really say what the prisoners or what the mental patient's name were. They didn't say Michael Myers. I don't remember them saying that, and they didn't say the other guy's name. And the other guys gonna become more significant, when as the film goes on, because when they first start to see this, there's something that happens where a couple goes outside and they discover that there's one of those patients in their car, and it's not really Michael Myers, but it's the other guy. The thing about it is this other dude looks nothing like Michael Myers. The body shape is different. Like, his physical appearance is different. It just sounds stupid when they just assume that's him. They just kind of assume that. And they end up kind of pursuing him and going after him. That's when they start to get together, and they kind of like, talk to each other about forming a mob to go chase this guy. Let me say this. I thought that was somewhat of a refreshing aspect of this film. That was one thing that was good, is that they kind of come across these people that are getting tired of being terrorized by Michael Myers. And so they say, you know what, forget this crap. We gonna go after him. Even though they don't know at that time, this patient is the wrong person. It's not Michael Myers. And so as the film goes on, I'm gonna kind of just skip through some stuff. This mob is what actually brings the film down. And that was the disappointment for me, is that even though it seems like this is going to be like a new sort of direction for this film, with these people sort of standing up for themselves, they show their stupidity at different points in this film, because there are different times when I think the mob splits up, and then even when they split up, it might be one or two of them, or excuse me, or three or four of them, and out of this three or four, they'll start off together, but then there'll be one or two characters say, "Okay, we're going over here. You guys stay over here. You guys go over there." And you're looking at it from an audience perspective, like, why are you guys doing that? There's strength in numbers. But like it just seems like it's dumb that you guys are just sort of splitting up because that makes it easier for Michael Myers to come and kill you. And that's basically what happens throughout several scenes, that based upon their stupidity of not wanting to stay together and trying to be a hero, there's a lot of hacking up. There's a lot of kills in this film. And Michael Myers basically kind of takes advantage of these people's stupidity. I don't think it's not that he knows that, but it just ends up being like that. There's a point in the film where we discover that when they take us back to the Myers home in present day, where Michael grew up, there's this male gay couple that stays there. They end up getting hacked up, and and some people thought this was dumb. They were like, "Why would anybody be staying in the Myers home?" I mean, at first I kind of thought that too, but I'm like, well, if years go by and they're dead, nobody's going to care about who you stay there. So that didn't really bother me as much as I thought it was going to bother me, and that was something that I think that bothered certain people that were there, and from other reviews I've seen, that's something that people thought was stupid, but not really. If you don't know that Michael Myers is, on a hacking spree again, or if you think he's already dead, that's not gonna bother you. But either way, it ends up just being detrimental, to them by splitting up. And I'm gonna kind of jump towards the end of the film here, where it's like the mob. There's a mob um, that ends up kind of splitting up again. Like they kind of split up at various points in the film, but then they come together and they kind of split up again. And this was kind of like a setup of Michael Myers to an extent. Like the granddaughter of Laurie Strode, one of the survivors of the 1978 hackings, and that survivor's son go to the Strode's home, or go to the home, excuse me, of Michael Myers. And they get there, and the father, who was a survivor of the 1978 slashing, he's one of these guys that tries to play hero. Like, y'all stay here. I'm gonna go in. If y'all sense any trouble or anything, honk your horn. What happens is that the father goes in, and there's like a gunshot, but you don't know where it came from or who it came from. So Laurie Strode's granddaughter and that guy's son go in there, and basically, the guy's son discovered his father basically is up in like this attic. He's trapped, but he kind of trapped in between the attic door. His father's been killed, and Michael Myers comes out of these doors, and begins to just beat the crap out of this guy's son, and just basically just brutalize him. The granddaughter comes in and she stabs Michael a few times, but he kind of basically knocks her down the steps. And when the granddaughter's kind of knocked down the steps, Michael continues brutalizing this man's son until he kills him. It basically snaps his neck. And I was just you have to see it, but it's pretty cool how they sort of like bring that guy's existence to an end. And so um, also um, as Michael come back downstairs after he finishes this guy's son, he basically kind of grabs at the granddaughter. He's about to stab her, but then Laurie's daughter, who's this girl's mother, kind of takes a rake and just kind of stabs Michael like this little metal rake, and stabs him in the back. And she, when he kind of lands face first and he's kind of in pain, so I think she kind of stomps him too as well. What happens is that she take Michael's mask off. She runs out of the house and say, "Come and get your mask, Michael." So he pursues her, and what happens is that Michael eventually comes to a point where he kind of loses track of Lori's daughter. And what happens is that he sees his mask laying like in the middle of one of these side streets. And as he looks down at the mask, there are a bunch of lights that come on and a bunch of cars that come out. And it's that mob that was led by Tommy Doyle. That was part of the setup. Is that they wanted to bring him to the mob. And what happens is that they begin to beat on Michael. And when they beat him up, everybody takes a shot. And there's a bunch of people that have baseball bats. And there's one guy, I think, that shoots him 3 or 4 times. And Michael eventually goes down and somebody stabs him in the back of the neck. And so again, they're thinking that Michael is dead. They're kind of celebrating and laughing, we got him. And what happened is that they kind of pan back to the hospital where Laurie Strode is. And she was in the same hospital room this whole time with this cop. I don't think I mentioned that, but she was in the same hospital room with this police officer that was ran over in the first film that they brought to the hospital. And she basically goes through this monologue. And she's trying to explain, no, Michael's not dead. Like, she just has this feeling he's not dead. And it kind of ties into what you're about to see, what happens with that mob. Laurie begins to talk about, what I've learned is that Michael transcends. He never really dies. It's like the more he kills, the stronger he gets. He transcends. And I don't like that part of it about what she said. It's almost like she's trying to explain to you why he's so unkillable. I mean, as we know, Michael Myers has been around since the 70s, as is Laurie Strode. And, they're like 60s or 70s, like in this film. Both of them are. I would say 60 just to make it respectable. And so Michael's taking all this punishment, and you're listening to what Laurie Strode is saying, and she's trying to basically explain why the film producers want to make him seem so unkillable, but it ends up sounding stupid. Because I'm like, can't nobody take that much punishment and just, end up just keep, getting up and then just kill him because, ooh, he's so evil. He's just so evil. He just transcends whatever happens to him. I'm like, BS. That's what I kept saying to myself when she was saying that, BS. I mean, I didn't believe a lick of it. And it just ended up sounding dumb. And so it just kind of took away from the film to an extent. I thought it was just like a waste of a monologue. But she's trying to explain why he survived all them licks he done took. Stabbing, shooting. Because if you remember in the reboot 2018, as I said some minutes ago, he got shot, I think, once or twice in that film. And then he gets shot at the end. But what happens is, as if she's going through this monologue, we see Michael all of a sudden get up. Even though he has that mob just did all that crap to him, hitting him with baseball bats, shot him 3 or 4 times, like in his upper, like around his shoulder area. He gets up. He starts, just bodying these people. He starts stabbing everybody, hacking, grabbing, throwing. And I'm like, I'm like, really? Because the thing about it is, I'm gonna go back to what I said about these people being stupid. They do all that. The one dude shoots him, but like, shoot him in the head. Blow his brains in, so I don't care how evil he is, he ain't gonna be able to get up. Because like I said, they shot him like, I don't want to say in his shoulder area or something, and they stabbed him, but nobody shoots him in the head. They got guns. Like, shoot this dude. But they don't. And it comes off as it being more stupid than anything. And so the stupidity of the characters kind of brought the film down a little bit. And it's just like, wow, they're a little slow. Their stupidity showed in another scene where they were pursuing that other guy that they thought was Michael Myers. But I'm not gonna go into that. I just let y'all view that in the film. I'm gonna say that when I ain't gonna go into that scene. But that was dumb too. But and just to as an ending to the film, Laurie's daughter ends up outside of out of Michael Myers' home, when it's basically a crime scene at this point. There's some more police officers, the mob, some more parts. There was some more people from that town of Haddonfield standing there. She just kind of is, I guess, is daydreaming or something. She sees like who I believe was a younger version of Michael Myers standing upstairs, and she sees it. And again, this is why Lori is getting this monologue. She goes upstairs and she looks out the window with his little younger version of Michael Myers was, of course, a younger version in there. But when she gets to the window, Michael Myers, as we know him today, of course, he just survived the mob, and he's made it somehow back over into the house. He just starts slashing her, and I guess he kills her. But I don't know if that whole sequence was a dream sequence or whether she literally is dead. So I don't know how that's going to play out. But that's what happened. And the film just kind of went off. So it was a step back from the previous film in 2018. The one in 2018 just had more depth to it. I felt like and had more development of Laurie's background, because to me, Jamie Lee Curtis is the linchpin of this film, just as much as Michael Myers is. And it was just kind of a disappointment to see that she was pretty much, even though it's understandable, it's kind of lamentable. She was sidelined from this film. She was pretty much in the hospital the whole time. She was in the hospital the whole time in this film. And but you understand it because she was a grandmother. She really got kind of beat up in the last film. You kind of understand it. But it just kind of, this film to me came off like it was more or less like a bridge to the third film. And I don't know if it was a bridge that really needed to be crossed. I just don't think the film, you could have just kind of not seen this film, and I think it would have been okay. It would have been all right. Uh, but like I said, hopefully Halloween ends. I think that's gonna be the title of the next, called Halloween Ends. Hopefully it'll be a lot better than this film, and they'll make the characters more smarter. Uh, this you got J. Crew to you, coming to you with my review for the Halloween Kills film that was just released. Leave comments in the video. Also like the video if you really like what you heard. Subscribe. Y'all have a good one.